I have the privilege today on this very cold morning to interview one of my business partners, Riaan van Jaarsveld. He is the Managing Director of Cybersecure Solutions, a certified ethical white hat hacker, and also 25 years in the cybersecurity game. You're sitting today with me, the interviewer, Managing Director of Siyaxhuma Solutions. So Riaan, the statistics around cybercrime are genuinely alarming. And small business has been hit every 11 seconds, and the number one contributor is phishing for most breaches. What about the current threat landscape keeps you up at night?
We've got a couple of answers there. Like I said, the first one is the phishing that you mentioned. We'll address that a bit later. What keeps me up at night is I think South Africa is becoming a global target, purely because the SME market in South Africa is not allocating enough budget towards cybersecurity. We think it's happening in Europe and in Russia and in America, and it's not back at home, but it's really here. I mean, I'm involved with incidents on a daily basis. The off-the-shelf solutions out there at the moment are, the smaller companies are marketing their products in such a way that the SME market thinks they only need solution A, solution B, solution C, but in reality, it's a combination of services and structures that you need to have in place. So that's a worrying factor. Is I think there's not enough budget, not just from the SME market, but from an African industry that they're not putting towards cybersecurity.
You spoke about budgets, humans. I mean, it sounds a lot like an integrated security approach, rather than relying on individual SME tools or like out-of-the-box tools, like as you mentioned. What does it actually look like in practice for a small or medium-sized business that does not have a dedicated IT security team? What does that look like for you?
Okay, I'm going to answer this in a non-technical answer. So prevention is better than cure. As an example, if it's flu season, I get my flu injection in March, so that when something does happen to me in June, my body responds to it better and I can recover. And the same with integrated security solutions. So I put my structures in place, I put my backups in place, I put my training in place before. Cybersecurity and cyber incidents, it's not if, it's when it's going to hit you. Nothing is certain in life and death and taxes, and this is one of those things, unfortunately, but it's how do you recover from that. So integrated IT solution would be looking at it holistically, from prevention to cure to a recovery state. So it's a combination of tools, not just installation of an application.
Riaan, I love that answer of yours. It's not about if you're going to get hacked, but rather when. And I've been doing a lot of research lately, and what I've been finding is that it constantly shows that the number one reason for breaches is the human error. How do you help organizations build a culture where security is everyone's responsibility and not just the IT department's problem?
Okay, Ruco, that's a difficult question, really. There's a couple of things you can do. I mean, first of all, user awareness is key. All right, so there must be some sort of training or methodologies that's put in place where the actual employee or individual is trained properly. I think we can't expect everybody to know what to look out for and what to do on the internet and what not to do on the internet. So there needs to be some element of training and awareness that needs to be constant and updated, because these threats change daily. So regular training, regular awareness, regular simulation of phishing. And what phishing is I pretend to be FNB. I'll give you a website of FNB, you type in your username and password, and I capture it in the backend. So that is really phishing in a nutshell. So there must be proper awareness, see what to look out for. That's the first thing from a human point of view. The second thing is, like you just mentioned, there is human errors. I mean, when there's a human involved, there's going to be errors. Well, obviously when there's machines involved as well. So together with the awareness training, the right security software, which is all automated and AI-based, helps the humans these days. So as an example, some of these softwares out there, if you usually log into your banking at 9 o'clock in the morning, and now all of a sudden you're logging in at 2 in the morning, that's flagged, it's triggered So there are tools out there where there is a mistake, or even if it's not a mistake, where there is a phishing attack or a penetration attack, where the software help you downgrade that threat. Obviously alert your IT department, because that's why they're there. I mean, they're there, they're skilled, and they're qualified to look after things. But there's a human factor, there's a software factor. So all of these tools and people, unfortunately, need to work together.
I get this a lot when I meet with my clients. I have a firewall and I have antivirus in place. I'm protected. As a cybersecurity specialist, how do you respond when you hear that?
Okay, that's a long answer, but I'm going to try and shorten it for this one. So a firewall I take as a door in your house, and an antivirus I take as a lock. So where there's a lock, there's a key or there's a hammer. Okay, so either I'm going to open the door, I'm going to knock it down. But there's also other entry points. There's windows, etc., etc. You can come through a roof, you can break through a fence. And the same with IT and cybersecurity for business out there. So there's two components. That's just your front. So that's your in a rugby scenario, that's your scrum.
Yes.
But the back line, no one looked after. In IT and cybersecurity, like I mentioned, from the human factor, and the same with these applications, all of them work together. So you need additional monitoring and applications that enhance your firewall. So if the firewall is breached, who that gets notified? You need a 24-hour SOC team that actually responds to these threats as they happen. Antivirus, there's so many out there today. I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands. So you must look at what is, obviously from a budgeting point of view, but what is suitable for your business. And I know it's a hard question to ask, but what is your business worth to you? And that's the same when we do and we promote certain types of products. That's one of the key things that the business owner must take into consideration. Is if something does happen to your company today, or your data is taken for ransom, what are you willing to spend to get your business back to where it's supposed to be?
Yeah, I love that answer. And I think what we're leaning towards is that, while in today's landscape, antivirus and a firewall, it is relevant. It's almost a non-negotiable. But it's more than that.
Yeah.
And I think we'll touch on that further. There's what's your backups in place? Are you choosing the right software vendors? Are you training your staff? And that's all something we've covered, and we'll cover further down the line.
Yeah, just a quick answer on the firewall. So there's so many out there, like I mentioned, same with the antivirus. I mean, you get certain types of firewall that just allows access from A to B, so it's basically just a boom gate. You get other firewalls that does threat hunting, so it goes and look for trends on the internet and implements those fixes before it actually comes to you. There is, we call it sandboxing. So sandboxing, look for type of phishing attack. So when there's I'm going to use the FNB example, and I'm not blaming FNB at all. Unfortunately, they're one of the bigger companies out there, and their brand's being used for phishing. It looks at that trend. So it literally goes and it looks at FNB's website. It looks at the email or image you received. It verifies the two, and it says, well, this is phishing or it's not. So there's so many files out there. Like I say, there's one that's just a boom gate, and there's one that's actually a proper security solution. So a couple of things to look out for.
I'm sure you've seen the same, but where I've increasingly seen it a lot more is where businesses had backups, but when ransomware was hit, those backups were either on the same network or had never been tested. What is the most common backup and disaster recovery mistake you see, and what does good actually look like?
I think your question actually answered your question. So common mistakes is they're on the same network. That's what that basically means is, if I encrypt a machine on point A and I've got access to the same network, I'm going to encrypt your backup on point B. So the point of that backup is really non-existent. The second thing is, from a compliancy these days, it's required to have your backups either off-site or in an offline state, which that means is, as soon as I back it up, I switch it off. Okay, so there's no physical access to that backup. In the mistakes we see, obviously definitely testing. I mean, it's like having a generator, and when there's load shedding, you don't have diesel. It's the same point. It's the same point there. So regular backup testing. Have some sort of cloud storage at least for your data. The old days we had tapes which was great. You could back up to tape and you take it off site and you can store it securely, and you couldn't rewrite on the tape. Today's everything being disk-based, it's easy to rewrite or overwrite your data, and that's what ransomware just basically do. It just overwrites your data. So have it definitely in some sort of cloud storage, off-site. Obviously, some compliance to look out for. Some financial data must stay in South Africa. Some data is allowed to leave the country. But there's so many scenarios there, and unfortunately, this is one of these things that people overlook. But your DR and your backup strategy must have a proper audit and a proper solution in place. It's not just, okay, I back up once a day for 30 days. Those days are gone.
And I think also leading onto that is that people think, oh, my stuff's in the cloud, it's backed up. Doesn't always mean it is backed up. Is it replicated across multiple data centers? I mean, with one of your clients is we deal with a lot of payment gateways, and they think, no, my data's it's in the cloud, it's backed up. But is it replicated across multiple data centers? I think that's key as well.
Well, yeah, there's two things there. So I'll give you an example. The cost of recovery there in DR is, when I call it disaster, it means, obviously everybody knows what that means, but I mean, a disaster means I have to kind of like rebuild from scratch. Now, how long is it going to take me to come back online? So where normal backup these days, just backup data to the cloud, what they're missing is the underlying infrastructure. So there's still servers, there's still some sort of database structure, there's still some financial applications that some IT company or your own IT need to install, configure, map all the users back, and then only recover your data. So those things from a downtime point of view can be hours to days to weeks to months. It depends on the amount of data. To have a proper DR and backup structure in place, as an example, I know you guys got a solution like that where you've got an instant restore where I think your downtime is like 15 minutes now. So maybe that's something you need to talk about.
There's so many software on the market right now. I'm sure business owners are so overwhelmed. When you just Google antivirus, there's about 1,000 websites that come up. As a business owner who is not a technical expert, how do they evaluate what software they are buying is genuinely secure, or where they are buying just a vendor's awesome marketing? Sure.
Well, that's where me and you come in. So we're the guys that actually consult this type of software, and we actually did the years worth of research where we can guide you through what's suitable for your business and what's not. Some things do get old. Although they were great 20 years ago, it's like VHS tapes, they were beautiful. But today they're kind of like obsolete. And the same with cybersecurity software. So if you were the old, I'm not going to badmouth any products at the moment or ever, but if you were on all the cybersecurity software that everybody knew, or the names that you recognize, those things are obsolete. I mean, AI and the bigger players it came out swinging, and they just took over the market, and they're just in a different league at the moment. So that's where me and you come in. I think from a business owner point of view, the best thing you could do is not lend out your ears to every IT person that comes and wants to sell you product A, B, and C. I think evaluate it properly. I think have some sort of Gartner report. I'm not saying take the 5 software out there in ChatGPT and say give me the pros and cons. That doesn't work. And trial and test it. I mean, I think you've got a couple of solutions that you've got a trial period on where you can explain and see. And not every solution works for every client. Yeah, so stop buying stuff off the shelf. That's my recommendation.
I think also as a business owner, it all comes down to, I'm a business owner, you're a business owner, we have to wear many different hats. And it's almost like stay in your lane, work on what you are good at. This is where the IT experts come in, and they can guide you and consult with you. What is the best software to use for your business? Every business is different, and every business has different goals.
No, 100% correct. I'll sell or recommend you any product if I think it's valuable and it fits your business. We're not a vendor specific or product specific company, and I think we will never be. Things change and the requirements change. So adapt to what you need, obviously facing your budget and looking at what type of solutions and service you need to protect. So that's where the consulting comes in. We look at hundreds of products, and for whatever you need, we'll recommend what's industry standards and what's out there and is acceptable.
so many ransomware hits these days and attacks happening. Beyond the technical damage, what is the full business impact of a serious cyber incident that people often don't appreciate until it fully happens to them?
They can be answered into so many categories in so many industries, but as an example here, reputation for one. So if I'm a hosting provider and I've been breached, would you host with me?
No.
If you are a company that collects personal information, so bank accounts, ID numbers, cell phone numbers, password numbers, and somebody breaches your data, would somebody trust you with their personal data?
No.
So the reputational damage is far more damaging than the actual data loss. Reputation and take our personal lives. Reputation is everything. As soon as you lose that, it's gone. And it's in the businesses these days. I mean, we all work from the ground up to establish our names, to establish our footprint. Doesn't matter if it's here or it's abroad, but we all establish our footprint. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the impact of that is loss of productivity. If I have to shut down a factory, people are quantifying this based on what IT downtime that I have. So it cost me X, Y, Z to recover my systems. But what I missed was my production line was down for a day or two. So I've got a staff cost. I've got delivery issues now. So I can't deliver on time. So now it becomes a contractual thing. So there's so many components to this. I think we can delve down that road we'll have a chat about this for probably an hour on what it can happen. But it's so many things to consider.
I mean, one of your massive clientele is hospitals. I mean, if a hospital gets breached and their systems go down through a ransomware attack, people don't get operated on. People have to literally be sent home. I mean, it's almost, that sounds sad to say, but some people have underlying death-defying operations needed, and now they cannot be operated on because the systems are not available.
It's life and death, literally. I mean, it was not our client. We were unfortunately involved in a negotiation with some cryptographers that attacked the hospital, which, like I say, it's not our client. We were just involved in assisting them, where the ransom was so high that the hospital couldn't pay it. And I mean, it was literally people passing away, and the guys didn't really care. As far as I'm aware, we're not helping. Like I said, we deal with that daily, and so it's not just operational risk or reputational risk, there's lives at stake here.
Riaan, with AI becoming such a massive trend as of late, and especially generative AI, apparently generative AI has driven phishing attacks up by over 1,200% in the recent at least 2 years. How is AI changing the threat landscape, and are defenders keeping pace with the attackers that are using AI and are using especially generative AI to attack small businesses?
Yeah, I think it's a twofold answer there. So first, let's take the attacker scenario and analogy. So yes, I mean, they're not going to sit and try and breach one computer for 9 months. I mean, it's not financially beneficial. So they also write code and applications to randomize these attacks. I mean, the recent one that hit South Africa, what happened there was it was an AI system that breached security cameras. Okay, and it installed code in security cameras, okay, which was not patched. And what the code basically did was it created an application to attack ISPs in South Africa. So it was this massive, it was almost like a crowd gathering in front of the union buildings complaining about service delivery. And that's the same thing that happened there. So all these cameras literally had their own software, which was AI configured and encoded, and it attacked ISPs in institutions. It's just the power of the mass. So they do create these things, but the other side of it, from a cybersecurity point of view, we're also in the same game as them. So we also have AI software that develops much faster at the moment, thank God for that, than the AI-generated attacking code. So there's a couple of companies out there which is 100% AI-driven in cybersecurity that learns these attacks as the machine progresses. And I used that example earlier. So when you log into internet banking, so if you're logging at 12 o'clock, it's out of the norm. This software learns this. It doesn't always block it, but it flags it, and the same with cybersecurity. So as these AI applications attack you, our AI applications prevent you from attacking you.
obviously we have a lot of business owners and CEOs who view our podcast, and what is your advice to them if you are sitting across the table for them right now? If they want to start taking cybersecurity seriously, but do not know where to start, what are the first 3 things you would tell them to do in the short term?
Sure. In the short term, 3 things. So first, obviously get in touch with you guys, so to come and do a proper audit. I mean, these audits can either be done online or on site. Some of them are free, some of them are a bit more involved. So first, do a proper audit, see what have you got. Then second thing is look at the downtime factor. I call it, we rate it as a downtime factor. It's saying, if I do have a cyber incident today, what am I willing to lose and how much time am I willing to lose? So depending on those answers, it depends on the type of solution that they're going to offer. The third thing is look at your current structure in terms of employee awareness. So have you done anything in the last month or 2 or 3? If you haven't, what is your plan for the next couple of months? So have some sort of implementation to have we mentioned it earlier, the human factor. Let's reduce the human factor involvement, and obviously the education on that. So those are the first 3 things I'll do.
I love that, Riaan. You mentioned 2 key factors. A, the human factor, and B is let's do a full audit. And what I love the fact is what's missing from your top 3 things is, but what I feel most people say is, do you have a firewall in place? Do you have an antivirus in place? Do you have cloud storage? And every business is different, and we cannot give an out-the-box solution to answer to say do this 1, 2, and 3. And I really love your approach to that question.
Yeah, so remember, you don't always have to change what you've got. Maybe what you've got is sufficient, but let's say somebody verify that. You know, I think a 3rd, and a 4th, and a 5th opinion is not always bad.
As we wrap up today, Riaan, it's been lovely having you. I want to maybe get a feel from you is, especially when a business partners with a company like Cybersecure and Siyaxhuma, and instead of them trying to manage the cybersecurity internally, and they are looking to partner with you, what does that partnership look like, and what can they expect that they could get from you that they could not do themselves?
I think it's a combined approach. So, I mean, you mentioned it earlier. So, stay in your lane. So, I think you've got your skill sets, we've got our skill sets, and together they bring a proper solution to the market. That's the first thing. The second thing is we've got 24-hour remote support centers. We've got the history in the market and the reliability at the moment to put your money where your mouth is, and I think we can. We've done through this. We on all the proper insurance panels that there are. So when somebody does get a cybersecurity incident, they do contact us through the insurance provider. So that's the second thing. So it's a tried and trusted model, but long and short of that is, I think we all got our solutions, and together we've got the right products and we've got the right cybersecurity for you.